Patagonia have been making this mega classic for years. This is the R1 pullover. This is a real classic for climbers using it for rock climbing and for mid layers and base layers in winter. Now, more recently, they brought out the possibly even more popular R1 Air. So two fleeces, both called R1 something. So what's the point? What's the difference? And which one is best for you? Well, let's figure that out now. So I'll start by running through all the features, what they're made of, things like that, and then we'll go through what they're suitable for afterwards. So I'm wearing the R1 Air, and that is really cozy. It's 100% recycled polyester, and it's got this really good jacquard sort of knit fleece. So it is fleece, but it is polyester, and it is super breathable, and it's really robust. This certainly feels like a really, really cozy fleece. Sort of, you know, like those old school fleeces are big and fluffy, but actually they're not that useful for the hill anymore. This is sort of a great replacement for that because it's incredibly breathable, really quick drying, but also comfy and cozy if you're sat around a campfire. What you instantly notice about the R1 Air is the interesting construction. So this jacquard sort of knit that they've done is actually quite gappy. That works incredibly well with breathability. So essentially the little channels you've got help move moisture away really quickly because, if I'm honest, there's next to nothing there. So my hot air can escape through there. But also that means it can get trapped in the thicker layers. What that does mean with this huge amount of breathability is it's not very windproof. I think that's good and bad. Obviously it's bad if it's worn on its own when it's really, really windy and on the top of a hill. But that also means because it's so breathable, because of that, when you've got it under a shell or something like that, it performs really well. Also, it dries in an instant. It's such a quick drying material because of the way it's knitted and the materials used. It's certainly been cut in quite a relaxed sort of fit, I think. I know they call it slim fit, but it's certainly not hugging everywhere like some base layers or really technical fleeces do. And because of that, if I'm honest, it makes it really popular for wearing to the pub, to a meeting, to work, but then going out on the hill and having a nice walk or something like that as well. The full zip comes with two nice hand pockets and a small little chest pocket. Bit of a bugbear with the chest pocket because I can't fit my phone in it. I guess it'd be good for a key or something like that, but otherwise, a bit pointless for me. Patagonia have cleverly made the hand pockets also internal dump pockets. Because it's 100% recycled polyester as well, there is not loads of stretch in it. Because of the construction, there is more than you'd expect for something that doesn't have any elastane in it, but it's not like super stretchy. Now, I think that's okay because it has been cut for sort of more relaxed outdoors. I would certainly use this skiing. In fact, I have done. I would probably climb in it, but I don't think I'd use it for my hardest things because it's not sort of fit perfectly for that. But that's when the R1 might come in. One of the other reasons I don't always like climbing in this is I want to save it for best. I mean, it's really quite smart and I feel really comfy in it. The full zip R1 Air hoodie comes in at 369 grams, which is sort of like medium weight sort of fleece, I would say. So the original R1 is a little bit lighter. The cuffs and the hem are really nicely finished. It feels incredibly comfortable. Like I say, it's a really good all-rounder. I certainly think it's much warmer than other fleeces of its weight, but way more breathable as well. The hood is also super cozy and fits nicely under helmet if you do use it for climbing. What you will notice when you've got the hood up and you've got it fully zipped up is it doesn't come up quite as high as something like the original R1 because it's not quite as designed for wearing in those super harsh conditions when you might want to snuggle right in and cover your face up. So combining all those features, like really technical, really breathable, really comfortable, but also smart, comfy to wear around the house, in the pub, things like that, makes it just such a great all-rounder. And it's got to be one of our best-selling, if not the best-selling fleece in the shop. The R1 fleece feels a lot more like a high-activity fleece compared to the R1 Air. Now, even though the R1 Air might be more breathable, I feel like this is more high-activity because of the cut and the fit and the feel. So the materials used in this are 93% polyester with 7% elastane, which gives that huge amount of stretch and ease of movement and reach and things like that. And even though they share a name, R1, there's a lot of differences between this and the Air. Firstly, and most noticeably, is the fact that it's a combination of two different materials. So we've got the R1 sort of classic fleece in all the dark areas that are really warm and great for keeping the core insulated, made from the legendary Polartec Power Grid. This has been chosen for its durability, its breathability, and its quick drying nature. But in the lighter blue areas, it's actually their thermal weight capilene material, which is quite a lot thinner and gives a lot more stretch. And I think that's well positioned because that's often areas where there might be multiple layers, or if climbing particularly, you've got a harness involved, which a lot of bulk there can sometimes feel a bit horrible. I also feel the same about the cuffs as well. I really like the fact this has got a much longer arm, also with the lovely thumb loops. Now I do really like tucking my thumb loops into my gloves so there's no gaps, and I'd hate that to be thick and bulky like this bit, so that's really well thought out. And as a tall, long arm person, that works really well. They've also used that thinner weight material on the hood, so when under your helmet, it's not as bulky, and I much prefer it that way. You'll also notice when you do the zip right up to the top and you got your hood up, it gives a much higher sort of chin protection. You can snuggle right into it. So when it's storming in Scotland, cover most of your face up. The cut of the fleece is also a little bit longer than the R1 Air, which again is brilliant because if you're wearing a harness, you do not want that pulling out and untucking. And they only do the hoodie in a 3/4 length zip. Now again, I think that works perfectly because when I've got a harness on, I don't want a zip around here. I can't even undo it anyway, but it's also great for opening up and dumping loads of heat out. The R1 comes in a little bit lighter than the Air at 289 grams, and that does feel nice and compressible when shoved in the bottom of your bag as well. The construction of the fleece differs to the Air because it's actual little cubes inside with a smooth outer face fabric. Now, that actually works a lot better at blocking the wind. So actually breathability, if you're technically measuring it, would be a little bit lower than the R1 Air, but it does give a little bit more abrasion resistance. If you are wearing it for climbing, things like that, it'll stand up to it better. And it'll also block a little bit of wind if you are climbing or exposed to the elements and wearing just this. But what this smooth face fabric also does is it makes it perform much better as a layer. So like I say, most people will wear this as their Scottish winter climbing or ice climbing mid layer, sometimes as their first layer, because against the skin it can really pull that moisture away really well. But that smooth face fabric makes it slide much better when you've got maybe 1 or 2 extra layers on top of it. What I think's been really noticeable about the R1 is the fact that loads of people have tried to copy it. If you come in the shop now, actually you see lots of other brands that make something that looks incredibly similar. These guys have been doing it for longest, but it is probably one of the most expensive. Now, however, I have seen so many cheaper brands make these and people buy them going, oh, just get this, it'll be great. And then a few months later or a year later, it's bobbled and it's ready for the bin. My old one of these, I must have had 15 years. I've done so many fun, cool things in it. I've got great memories and it is absolutely fine and I still continue to use it. So durable, well worth it. So like I say, I would mainly use this for high activity. It works best as a mid layer, base layer, Scottish winter climbing, bouldering in the winter, absolutely brilliant. I feel like the R1 Air is more of an all-rounder than the R1 because you will use it, yes, for your climbing, skiing, things like that, but also you wear it for lower paced activities like walking and maybe camping, and also, like I say, everyday life because it is just so warm and cozy and quick drying and just easy to wear. Do remember, and a quick reminder, that something as breathable as the R1 Air, of course, has very limited wind resistancy. Now, like I said before, really good for the breathability. So take like a wind shell with you, maybe like a Houdini, or you can just put your shell on when the weather comes in. So there we have it. 2 really similar fleeces, similar names, similar construction, quite a lot of difference in performance. Which one would I choose? I think I'll have both, please.